Hey y'all, just wrapping up my mood board here and wanted to share with you just kind of where I'm at with it and getting it ready and prepped for submission into our first peer review and discussion critique as well. So here I am. From the last time we talked about my mood board, it was kind of a white backdrop, and so I've included that kind of odd cone color that I'm curious about how it might play into the UI. Included that as the background. I have this little swoop here as well. You can kind of lightly see, having worked for Handles and been a scooper for 6 years, I remember kind of that motion. And so again, it's part of the emotion and the environment that I want to create on the website, and just thought that might be a little playful accent to include here in the mood board. From top to bottom, I've got my primary, secondary colors, a couple accent colors, and then again that cone color as well. Just got this little title just so I know where it's at. I know what this is, the Handles Ice Cream Mood Board. Including the client's logo as well is never a negative thing. It's always a good thing to include the client's logo. So I encourage you to do that also in your mood board. Clients love to see their baby and their brand, and so it's good to include that there. Just got a little overview about Handles as a friendly reminder. And then again, those 4 adjectives, local, homemade, friendly, fresh, that's kind of the vibe and the attitude and the emotion that I want to create on their new website. And so those are those 4 adjectives as a part of the discussion post, part of the mood board requirements that you're to include. It's going to be different for everybody, and so I'm excited to see kind of what you're thinking as you look at a website. What are those adjectives, those descriptive words that you want to convey on the new redesign? And so I've included those here. Local, homemade, friendly, fresh. That's what I want to make sure that the new website accomplishes when you go to it for handleshomemadeicecream.com. I've got examples of what a headline could look like. It's that Frances bold font. I've included just a little tagline. Again, these are great little additions to your mood board, maybe to push it to the next level. Again, think about a mood board as an artifact that you're going to leave behind that a client's going to look at when you're not there. And so these little indicators of here's the headline example of local homemade ice cream made fresh daily for over 80 years. They're going to see that and understand that this is the actual headline font option that is being presented to us. Same with body copying. So I've just pulled a snippet from their website here, their body copy example of Poppins Regular. So these 2 fonts are what they can expect to see on their new font or their new website redesign. So go down the page a little bit. I've got those 3 photography selections that you need to have here on Handles' current website. They include a lot of staged photography. And while that might be great when I'm kind of at the restaurant looking up and seeing the menu, I don't know if it's really quite that exciting or doesn't really fit those 4 adjectives of local, homemade, friendly, and fresh that I want to embody on the new site. And so I've also included photography for the direction that I want to go in the site, more kind of live action or more in the moment kind of candid photography. And so here, an example of an ice cream cone dripping on a hot summer's day as the Handles employee hands it to the customer through the window, or this kid, this friendly face as I go to an ice cream. I can stand in line. I can hear kids playing in the background. I can hear people talking as they eat their ice cream outside, and it melts on a hot summer day. That's the vibe and the attitude that I want to present on their new website redesign. If you remember the Handles website, it also includes a lot of watercolors and illustrations. And if I'm being honest, I think it's a little overkill a little bit. Every kind of banner of the website has these illustrations. So I want to include them because obviously they've invested a lot of time and energy into that. But I also maybe want to use them in a more elegant and subtle way. And so I've included that here on the mood board, maybe just a point of conversation if I was to be presenting this to the client. Here, as I go down the right-hand side, it wouldn't be a UI mood board if we didn't have examples of UI. And again, we've talked about, and it was talked about in the videos from the external resources as well, that the point of a mood board is so that you can get ideas in front of the client to get their gut reaction, to get their feedback, so that you as a designer don't rush off in one direction and be heading down the completely wrong way. And this gives them an idea of maybe what you're thinking for the redesign, and gives them an opportunity to react to it before you actually invest all your hard work and all your time in a direction that they might ultimately not want to go or not feel comfortable with as a client. And so I've got some examples of similar websites. You don't necessarily have to have a one-for-one. And so if you're getting inspiration from if this was, if this is an ice cream website, but you're getting inspiration from a different layout or a different industry, that's totally okay too. I just happen to have examples of ice cream here. So I think this is just a really beautiful layout, the way they overlay imagery. And so I'd probably talk about that to a client as far as inspiration for this UI design goes. I brought in a competitor, so they're going to be familiar with who Jenny's is, and I just really love the way they kind of show their pints of ice cream kind of melted fresh out of the freezer as you kind of bring them home, maybe set them on your counter again. It's the emotion that I want to create on this website. It's the vibe and the attitude that I want a customer to see when they get there on the website. And then finally, I have this UI inspiration here, this butterscotch ice cream. I just like the way the colors play really well together, both with what's being presented as far as the ice cream goes, with the backdrop, the way they use typography in the background as well, the way they present nutrition facts. And so I might experiment with something similar to this as I jump into the menu page itself. So just a really brief rundown. I would feel personally comfortable with putting this in front of a client, sharing this mood board with them and walking them through kind of my thoughts as I approach the redesign. And so hopefully you guys are tracking in this same direction and would be something that I would expect you to submit to your peers here in this discussion post. So a couple little things as you export this and get it ready for the discussion post. You can see the very top left corner, I've got the name of my artboard. And so if you've read through the post already, the requirements are that you name this file project1_moodboard_ your initials. And so for me, it's project1_moodboard_ RSF, my initials. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this. I can click on the name and you can see I've done that here. I can also select it from this list on the far left side of my screen for my artboard. And so I have other artboards that are in and living in this file, but I'm going to select project1_moodboard_ RSF. What I'm going to do is go up to File and Export. You can see, there's a couple options here: batch, selected, and all artboards, and After Effects. So the one thing I love about Adobe products is that their suite is interconnected. And so After Effects is an animation and timing platform akin to XD or Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign. And so if you're interested in maybe animating anything, you can export it straight from XD into After Effects and then back to XD as well. It's just a great little coordination that the XD product team has done to make it really easy to export layers and files and assets from one project to another, or from one product to another. We're not going to explore that, but just as a side note, it's a great little, maybe if you have a few minutes to experiment there and just see what that's all about. What we're going to do is export the selected object here. So here I've selected my artboard and I'm going to go to Export and Selected. So it's going to pull that artboard. And here I've got a few different options. I can export it as a PNG, an SVG, a PDF, a JPEG. So all different, different use cases for each one. For this submission, it needs to be exported as a PDF. So I'm going to select the PDF option and it's going to export. You can see I've already exported it once here, so I'm not going to do it again because it's going to trigger me to override. And so I'm going to, I'd hit export and it'll take me, it'll export it to the whatever file folder that I have selected. So instructions and requirements for this assignment. So we've already talked about it. The mood board file size, final size at 1920 by 2160. The final mood board type as a PDF. The final project name, the final file name being project1_moodboard_ your initials .pdf. And so an example for me, as I said before, would be project1_moodboard_ rsf.pdf. There are 2 posts required for this module. It's a 10-point grading rubric, and so 5 of those points are dedicated to your effort and your creativity and the experience of your mood board on a 1 to 5 scale, 0 to 5 scale there, based off of what you've done on the actual mood board and actually what you're presenting itself. Again, make sure you hit those requirements: the color palette, typography, any textures or patterns, photo selections from the website that you're redesigning, or an alternative source as well, like Pexels and Unsplash, those open source platforms for photography. When you would present this in your portfolio or present it to a client, you would want to include the attribution of who actually took those photos. But that'll be something to consider if you put this in your portfolio or if you were actually presenting it to a client. You want UI inspiration, at least 3 of those, and then those 4 adjectives or descriptive words to describe the new site, the new feeling you want to have somebody experience when they get to your new site. You're going to submit that PDF along with 200 to 300 word post describing what your thinking is behind the mood board of your redesign. Okay, so that's post number 1. If you're the first person to post, congratulations. But as soon as you post, you should see the rest of your assigned group members. We have 5 groups, and so you'll post in your assigned group there, which should be kind of pre-generated for you inside of Blackboard. After you make that post, you'll see the rest of your peers. So if you're the first one, you'll just have to sit back and wait until your peers submit theirs. Congratulations there for being the first one. Nothing to give you maybe other than a pat on the back or a gold star, but revisit it to see when your peers post their mood board within your group. And so that'll help you along the way for your post number 2. Post number 2 centers around peer feedback. So it's the other half of that 10-point grade, the 10-point scale. And so you're required to give each peer, each person in your group, 200-word minimum evaluation. So what have they done well? What might they need to push a little bit more? And so hopefully by you looking at their mood board, that gives you a little bit of inspiration, sees what other people are doing in the class, but then also react to it. Describe what you're thinking as you look at it. What are areas that they're doing well in? What are areas that they can improve? And post a minimum of 200 words for each of the individuals within your peer group. So that'll be due, I think that's Sunday, the 24th, January 24th at 11:59 p.m. I'm also going to be interacting in this, so I'm also going to be providing feedback as well. And hopefully you guys will get a lot from being able to submit your reviews. I'm going to give feedback, and then your peer group is going to give feedback as well. But hopefully this is a good little overview of what to expect for this module, what to expect as you export your mood boards and get them ready for review. You will have opportunity to update your mood boards and submit them again. But a good start. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to be submitting. Excited to see how you guys interact within your peer review and peer feedback in post number 2. So we'll check these out as soon as you submit them. Good luck, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.